Okay. All right, good evening, everybody. The time is now 7:02, officially call the meeting open. Regular meeting, public hearing, Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023, primetime building. If you could just please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How's everyone doing? It's been a long time. I mean, this is my meeting in general, but you with
Yeah, still good.
All right, so the first thing we need to do is to confirm the next meeting date. So that would put us at,
Zach, can you just make sure you announce that it's being recorded for,
oh, yes, yes.
sorry.
Let's put on the agenda, this is a public meeting, being a video and audio recorded for cable broadcast. Is that on Zoom too as well, correct? So we will be looking at
I have April 26th.
April 26th. Is that a school vacation week? No. Does that conflict with any of the board members? Okay. And for any of the public hearings that are tonight, should your meeting, your agenda item need to be continued, would that work? Anybody? All right, so then, we'll do that, we'll keep it at the usual date, so it'll be April 26th. Will it be here? All right, here, 7 PM start time. So I'm Zachary Karen, the chairman of the board. We have Greg Logan, who is the vice chairman. Absent today is Jonathan Gale, the clerk. And we have Susan Pritchard, who's a member, David Phillips, Elise Vincent, and we have Marguerite, who is the attorney for the zoning board, who is also here, as some of the items on the agenda will involve her. So we'll go right into the first item, so 4A, review, discuss, and act. Kelly of Stonebridge Homes Incorporated for Stony Ridge Estates regarding the release of the bond. Greg, do you mind assigning 3 members? And is there anybody who would have any issues or conflicts of interest on this case that we need to avoid? I don't think we have any.
So I'll do Dave Phillips, Zach Karen, and myself.
All right, the applicant is here. They may present the case. They're not here.
There's a email that was sent that was given to you tonight. Asking for postponement, the next meeting, giving a status update.
Oh, right, okay.
I'll do that a little bit more.
Okay, Marguerite, if you wanna go into that, well, I'll read it into the agenda so we have it. So this was sent from Owen, to Carrie and Marguerite regarding Stony Ridge Estates, sent today at 2:37 PM. Hi Carrie, I'm emailing you to request another extension to the hearing on Stony Ridge Estates. I spoke with Marguerite today, and she suggested providing a status update to the board. It is my full intention to verify completion of the remaining items in the next 7 days to be prepared for the next hearing to be the last one. I've attached a summary of the previously remaining items as well and the status of each. So, Margaret, do you want to?
So the summary, I guess it might make sense to just read through what they are, whether he believes they're completed and what his comment is. There's only a handful of them on here.
Do they, will they all have, do you want me to just go all and then you comment on them, or do you want me to do one at a time?
You can go through them all and then I'll comment on.
Okay, sure.
where we're at quickly.
Okay, so we have condition, and these are numbered in order of the condition number. So condition 2, complete is a no. Topic, building inspector list. And the comment from Owen is final sign off from building inspector, no known items remaining from previous lists. Condition 16, complete is a no. Topic is fencing. Basin fencing required, basin fencing repair, BI sign off required as building inspector. Condition 26, complete is a yes. Streetlights, complete and verified. Condition 31, complete is a no. Topic, Board of Health confirmation. Comment is need Board of Health letter confirming fees paid. Condition 32, also a no. Topic again, Board of Health confirmation. Or need Board of Health letter confirming PrEC rates. Per. Condition of 43, complete is a no. Topic, financial security agreement. Draft FSA sent to Marguerite for approval on 3/22, remaining the same as the original except for language to ensure continuity. Condition 52, complete is a yes. Topic is the park. Complete prior to road acceptance. Tables were final addition. Condition 53, complete is a yes. Topic, no touch deeds. One affordable buyer remaining to sign document with Kerry to be notarized with signature. Condition 54, complete is a yes. Streetlights, complete prior to road acceptance. Condition 55, complete yes. Topic, stop signs, complete prior to road acceptance. Condition 58, complete yes. Topic, entry sign, fire department sent approval. Condition 64, this is the final one, complete no. Topic, parcel A, confirmatory deed approved by. Going through the back, there's one more, sorry. Complete by Marguerite, sending recorded info shortly. And the last one is 1, as amended, complete no. Topic, general completion, final sign off from building inspector, no known items remaining from previous yes.
So I have been having ongoing conversations with Mr. Kelly. We've created this sort of chart and punch list based on the conditions, the comprehensive permit that remained unfinished. And we've slowly been addressing them. I have not taken this particular chart and made sure that it compares to the last one that I spoke to him about, but generally when I've spoken to him, we're pretty much on the same page. So one of the things I will do between now and the next meeting is to double check that. I asked him to provide an update because we're very close, obviously, as you may recall. We're very close to getting this completely finalized, which would allow for the final release of the bond. The remaining pieces, I believe the Board of Health letters have been drafted or are about to be drafted, and so he has that completed. He's just waiting to actually receive the letter in hand. I know he's working with the building inspector to get his final approval letter. There were a couple of documents that he needed to send to me. I did receive one of them today, which I need to review and approve. And he mentioned that, and I think he's going to be sending me some recording information. So we're very, very close. He asked me to convey to the board that it is his goal to actually do this at the next meeting. I know there were some personal things that set him back a little bit. But I think that he has been working pretty diligently, I would say, since the fall, with, the understandable acceptance of time around the personal piece. But I do expect that there's a good chance we could get this resolved at the next meeting. It didn't make sense for him to come in if he could send a letter to you to ask for a further continuance, but I did think it was important that the board have something in writing to give you a status update, because you haven't really interacted with him in a few months. So my recommendation would be that you approve his request for continuance to the April 26th meeting.
And do we, if it was involved in an updated packet, then I could have missed it. Do we know that he'll be able to make that meeting if needed?
I mentioned that date to him and said I thought that would be the meeting date.
Yeah.
And he indicated he was available. So
Okay.
I do expect that he will be.
And then worst comes to worst, if he can't, is it something that we can still, as long as we have everything submitted, I'm just
I
not
think
looking
giving
at
him
too long on
here
this, that's all.
probably at some point in time, but if there's an issue that comes up, then obviously he'll have to make another continuance request at that time. He can address it then.
Okay. So, since I'm a voting member, I'll step down as chair so I can make the motion that we approve his request for an extension to our next meeting, which would be April 26th. Is there a second?
Chairman, I'll second.
And just,
I have a question.
sure.
Just a note, Paul Cussin, Norfolk Associates, you said something about the affordable buyers, can you just expand upon that a little bit?
Sure.
I'm not sure what you were, you said
Line 53.
One
Yeah.
affordable.
Oh, yeah, sorry, so that, just for the record, that was regarding condition 53, which to be complete was sent as a, according to this, was complete as a yes topic regarding the no-touch deeds. His comment was one affordable buyer remaining to sign document with Carrie to be notarized with signature.
what document are you requiring the affordable buyers to sign?
It was a confirmatory deed, there was some language around a no-touch that had been left out of the deeds or that were touching the no-touch zone, and so there was more than just affordable buyers, all of the buyers in that abutted the no-touch zone needed to have their deed language changed, and so there were confirmatory deeds
I-
drafted and approved, and
I
then
understand.
this particular buyer happened to be, which is sort of one of the affordable units.
Mr. Who? I don't need a name.
We don't, I would provide it, but I just didn't hear your question.
Okay, so there is a motion, there's a second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Alright, so that is moving on to the next meeting. Next, we'll go to review, discuss, and acts, item 4A2. Dayton Homes LLC for Dayton Woods subdivision regarding release of funds under the performance agreement. Just get a second to get that. Marguerite, or Andy, I guess, and Carrie too, is there anything specific that should be read into the meeting, the minutes first for this case? Or
Probably this email, that you have.
the first
Part
one?
of the agenda.
Okay, so I'll go from the original email from this thread, or just to the first one? Because the first email of this thread was from Carrie to Mike Corey.
Yeah, you can read
Okay.
the emails, that's fine.
Okay, so the first one that initiated this thread that I'm about to read was sent from Carrie to Mike Corey on Thursday, March 16th, 2023, 11:25 a.m. Marguerite was CC'd on this email. Subject is forward Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals request for scheduling of Dayton Homes LLC matter due to Mike Corey's scheduling conflict. Good evening, Attorney Corey. In preparation of the Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting next week, Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023 at 7 p.m., please provide a quote-unquote clean, without any track changes version of the 18th Amendment for submission to the board so that Attorney Mitchell can put together the approval letter signed by Carrie. Then we have a response from Michael Corey, Thursday, March 16th, so that same day, late in the afternoon, 3:29 p.m. to Carrie, Marguerite, and we have the response. Dear Ms. Easterday, Marguerite, attached is the clean, in parentheses, not red line draft of the 18th Amendment to the tri-party agreement incorporating the changes that Marguerite proposed. We are good with the attached. I have an annual meeting for a large condo development scheduled to occur next Wednesday, so we will need my colleague Maya Cordero Esquire to appear for the applicant. Is it possible for Maya and our client to appear remotely, or is the town ZBA meetings back to in-person meetings? Thanks. Signed by Mike. And then we have Carrie's response to him later that evening, saying, yesterday, and from Mike to Marguerite. After speaking with our client, they would like to be at the hearing. They'd like for me to be at the hearing with them for continuity's sake. Would the board be able to put in consideration of the attached 18th Amendment to the tri-party agreement off until April meeting hearing, April 26th? Please let us know. Before everyone started, we do need 3 voting members for this case as well, correct? We could assign 3 more. All
All
right.
right, I'll do Mrs. Gray. I'll do Zach Karen. And then I will do Dave again.
Chair Margaret, do you have any comments on this one?
Just at this stage, this was part of your agenda. All this information is part of your packet that has been posted online. So they're asking for further postponement to another conflict Attorney Corey has. So my sense is if you approve that postponement, then you should be reviewing the request to approve the 18th Amendment at your next meeting.
Do you think that's something that that's fine to do? I mean,
Well, so what's attached here is they have updated the 18th Amendment to address the edits that I requested to it. I did bring with me, but it's not, it's something that can go into the next meeting packet, a letter addressing that request, providing some sense of approval to the board, but it will be part of your next packet, so that ultimately the 18th Amendment would reduce the bond to a $5,000 limit, because we're basically at the point where there's some legal documents that need to be finalized. So everything else has been approved, this roadway has been accepted, it's been more than a year since that acceptance, town's deed is part of this 18th Amendment. You'll see Peter Williams' sign-off letter is part of the 18th Amendment, so. So they're asking for a substantial reduction of the remaining bond amount down to this remaining $5,000 limit, which is to address some legal documents that remain outstanding. And we can take a look at my letter, but it's not before you get.
So that being said, I mean, the way you word it, is he formally asking for a continuance because he's on this agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Do any of the board members have any comments, or nine board members have any comments on this? Or their thoughts on allowing the extension?
I'm okay with it.
I am too.
You know,
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the continuance request for Dyton Homes LLC release of the funds under the performance agreement to April 26th, our next scheduled meeting?
Motion to continue Dyton Homes to 4/26.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. So next we'll go down to business 4B, public hearing, Stonegate LLC, westerly side of Somerset Ave, map 9, modification of comprehensive permit. And again, Greg, I will need 3 voting members. Is there anyone that foresees any conflict of interest?
I want to say something, I was reading this through here, and I was going through some of the old deeds. My father had sold a piece of land for this, I just know Joe Lawrence's name was in that. So I just want to make that clear that I am related to Joe. I was since deceased, and it was way before my time, before any of this happened, but I did see his name in it, so I'm not sure if it's a problem. I just want to make sure we know about it.
Is there anything that would prevent you from giving unbiased?
Oh, no, it was a piece of property that I believe was sold on the Center Street side.
So we have to remember that whether there is a conflict or not, there's also the appearance of a conflict. Margaret, do you feel this could be seen as an appearance of a conflict of interest, or is he removed enough from any relations to this parcel that it should be okay?
I mean, I don't know that it was known prior, you may have voted on previous ones.
I have,
And it wasn't
Without
known
knowing,
at that time.
without knowing until now, okay.
However, you've come to know that, and there's other members here, so I would suggest
Yeah,
that you
I'm
not
okay with
be
that,
voting on this
exactly.
stage.
Okay.
so that's why I was just bringing it up, because as we know the verbiage over there, I hope Joe was involved in this, so. I'm gonna do, again, I'm gonna go Susan Pritchett. I'm gonna do Zach Karen and Dave.
All right, if the applicant is here, they can present any information that they have for us. Make sure you state your name for the record for me.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, Paul Cusson from Belfast Associates. You just appointed how many members?
Three.
Now, why is that?
It's majority of the 5.
So wouldn't all 5 members have the opportunity to vote?
We have a right to say the 3 voting members, the voters.
Zoning Board of Appeals and Dyton consists of 3 members, remaining members are alternate.
Okay, thank you. This is sort of a continuation of what happened when we appeared before the board, I'm not sure exact date, about a year ago or so. And there were some issues about the real estate taxes that were outstanding, and it was a very confusing time as to what was owed, when it was owed, how it was assessed, and all those sorts of things. And there were a lot of discussions going back and forth with members of the assessor's office and the clerk and all that sort of thing. So all of that has been, to my knowledge, has been fully resolved. Taxes are all, to my understanding, current. So that was an issue that the board had before we could even, we did discuss a little bit, but before the board would certainly take any action and so forth. So we had to, at the request of Marguerite, we had to withdraw our old application and submit a new application, but basically it's the same thing. The dates have changed, is the only change. Each of you should have a binder. We delivered over there, we delivered a lot of trees to the, 30 copies is what was delivered, and we hand delivered to all of the different boards that were on the list to receive, and there were quite a few of them. So all of that has been completed and was completed some time ago in two parts for the delivery. And what to bring we have some new members here that weren't here at the last time. So to bring you up to date, this is a development that was approved in 2004. And the development was in two parts, parts A and parts B, parcels A and parcels B. And parcel A had, there was a total of 58 units that were approved. 38 of those were on parcel A, which was developed by a number of people, and the most recent person is Richard Federoff, has been building the houses and developing the remainder of phase A. I mean, it's parcel A. Parcel B was approved under the permit, and that's approved for 19 single-family homes. We're not asking for any changes to the numbers or to the location that was originally approved, and that's all in your book. You have site plans and all that sort of thing. So what we're asking is to approve, and I'm not so sure you have to approve, but there's been a developer, Able Landing Real Estate, who is going to develop parcel B, the 19 single-family homes. That has been approved by Mass Housing, the transfer of the permit to the remainder of the permit to that person. So what we are asking for is for the board to go along with that, and also to the house styles that we're proposing are different than those that were proposed in 2004. And those are also, the architectural plans are also in your book. And we're asking for those, for the B, the most important part is a separation, I'll call it, of liability between parcel A and parcel B. They are physically, if you look at the site plan, clearly separate. There is a pump station, sewer pump station, and to the back of that pump station, the land falls down quite a bit, and that's the area where the 19 homes are. The other 38 homes, of which 10 were affordable, designated affordable. Of those 10, 2 were sold 15 years ago, 20, a long time ago, by the other developer, and Delphic was involved in those sales. Since then, so there were 8 affordable homes to be yet built. And all of those, there were 6 built, sold, delivered, and there's 2 more to be built. And he's about to ask for a permit on lot, I think it's lot 37, which is one of the two remaining affordable, and I think there were 4 or 5, maybe 6 market rate houses yet still to sell and build and develop on parcel A. So we want to keep, so there are responsibilities that the owner of parcel A has, and we want to keep those separate from parcel B, and I'm open to suggestions and comments that the board may have. But basically, that's a request in a nutshell. Was I missing something?
Okay, I know we have a fair bit of public input, which we will get to. First, I'll just read into, public input from town boards first.
Okay,
I'll,
we don't have any copies of those, so please get those to us, appreciate it.
okay. I'll start with, this is to carry the zoning board from Chief, Cronin regarding Stonegate Landing traffic concern. It's dated March 17th, 2023. I understand that the Stonegate Landing developers are in a new phase of construction, and prior to the town accepting the project and streets, I feel necessary to share a major concern for road safety as it pertains to their Somerset Ave, Route 138 entrance. Over the years, both myself as well as my officers have observed near crashes in the Somerset Ave entrance. To enter Stonegate Landing from here, an operator must slow down considerably as to maneuver the curb that still exists to get into the development. This slowing down is a more exaggerated than usual because of the curb obstacle, and operators taking into account a safer and more manageable approach onto the development roadway. My concern is that with more homes being constructed and foreseeably more vehicles going in and out of Stonegate, this entrance in particular needs attention. In my opinion, to promote a safer entry-exit, a curb cut should be applied for by the developers to remove the obstacle and flare the entry/roadway. A few options can be thought about here: either create a usable two-way roadway so that vehicles can easily navigate going in and out of Stonegate, or make it a dedicated one-way into the development. Either of these seem to be viable options, but the curb must be addressed to mitigate potential crashes and injuries that may occur in the future. Respectfully submitted, Sean P. Cronin, Chief of Police. And again, that was submitted March 17th.
If I could make a comment on it, all right, the 19 lots, it would not be advantageous for anyone to exit to approach those 19 lots from Somerset. It's on the side street that it's only about 2 lots in, and you would take a left to go into the 19 lots. So a one-way situation might make sense, and we can work with the police chief.
Well, I believe it is a one-way off, right, I drove through and actually took a video.
Well, it's supposed to be one-way.
It is a one-way off
They're
of
not-
Somerset Ave. I know Mr. Fedorov has been trying to get with the state, and have the curb cut. I remember this whole conversation happened about this. Times do, the place is falling apart on that end of the road over there. There's a lot of concerns with me with the road. But that's another story, he's reading and stuff, we'll get into that after. But, so you read that into the next one that you had from the town, what do you have, is that the?
Separate from the police chief's comments? Sure.
We'll get into that.
Sure. Just the next one that I just happened to have on top, and again, no particular order that these are in. We have March 21st, 2023. This is from the Office of the Board of Sewer Commissions. The Dayton Sewer Commission wishes to comment on Stonegate Landing's request to modify their comprehensive permit. All of the town of Dayton's requirements and sewer specifications must be met. Homes will be discharging into a public system. Will the proponent be attempting to turn the development over to the town in the future? Will be responsible for maintaining the pump station? What arrangements have been made regarding the use of the pump station? And that has Thomas Ferry, clerk, Robert Woods, Harold Garcia, sewer superintendent. Do you have any comments on that at this time?
Yeah, it's always been the intent, and it's included in the permit, excuse me, that, the town, that the roadway, and everything, all the infrastructure would be presented to town meeting for acceptance. That's always was the intention and will continue to be the intention. Obviously, there are certain things that have to be done and so forth for, you know, DPW to sign off and all those kinds of things, but that's the intent, always has been.
And
Let me back up, also, the sewer commissioner, when, at one point in time, there was some discussion about these 19 lots, and, the developer at the time was saying, well, I'm not sure what we're gonna do about those 19, that maybe could be done differently, but the DPW insisted that that pump station be fully designed for maximum number of bedrooms and so forth, so it was developed and approved and so forth for all of the 58 homes.
do the board have any comments on that before we move on to whole public input? Okay, good.
So you just hit something that struck me a little bit there. The sewer department, that pump station was designed upon bedroom, is that correct?
There was,
Was
yes,
that
and
by the town?
they designed, yes.
Yeah, and now we're gonna increase by how many bedrooms?
No, we're not increasing, the design was based on all 3 bedrooms.
This whole septic system was designed as first started as a 55 or over, then it went to a 2-bedroom. And now, that's another story in itself, what you're approaching us for.
Right, yeah.
But when this was designed, was that always every house designed for a 3-bedroom?
Yes.
Is what you're saying to me on that septic plate?
Yes,
It is.
total, that's my understanding, the total flow of that station.
Right.
Is designed for all 3 bedrooms.
There's also, this would be for Mr. Federoff. I know there's some house grinders in there because they didn't have the up and pump at the time, so there's still houses that have the house grinders. On the comprehensive permit, that must be all hooked to the station. And I don't think that,
That's already been
I
done.
thought you had one person that was fighting you.
I'm sorry.
I thought you had one
Yeah, there was
person,
one person that did not want it, not fighting, they said they refused,
but that's,
and they do not want to be hooked up into the sewer system.
you know, but that violates the comprehensive permit. It has to be hooked up.
Then,
Am I right? I
I'm
believe
not
I'm
sure,
right.
I'm not sure whether it has to, I don't know the answer to that
So when
question.
that fails, what are they gonna do?
What fails?
When the grinding pump fails, they're gonna try to hook into the sewer at that time. Is that what they're trying to do, just use like a septic system, and once it fails, go forward?
There is a stub into the gravity sewer on his property, it's already off the road.
So we don't have to worry about the infrastructure at the
They
later
never
date?
have to go back in the street, there's a
Okay.
sewer stub there,
Okay,
he just decided,
it's fine. I remember this all in the last meeting we had, I don't know how many years ago, but I remember all this stuff coming off.
Less than a year.
Less than a year.
you never have to go back in the street.
Dog year.
Yeah.
So, do you wanna address the police thing before you go any further, because I have a lot of comments on that as well.
That specifically? Absolutely, yeah, I'd rather go one by one.
So I don't know if any other members have anything on the sewer that they'd like to bring up?
I think one of the same thing as far as.
Yeah, the bedrooms of the
Give
subject.
the ability to
When
turn.
when I read this whole book,
Yeah.
it seemed like we were going from the comprehensive permit originally, and now it's being modified and it's going from 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom. That's how
Well,
that's how I
That's what he's
interpret.
gonna be
That's how I
asking us
interpret it.
for, right, but I wanted to make sure that that pump station,
Is
I'm
it
gonna,
gonna,
I'm
is that
gonna,
pump station gonna be able to handle?
I'm gonna
Yeah, it's
request
designed,
that
it's
from the
designed for
sewer
the total
department.
flow. So what happened was that the history was there was a development of 72 houses. And it was age restricted 55 and over. The comprehensive permit has been modified, I think, 3 times.
I read it.
Did you read?
Oh, yeah.
I tabled it.
Good for you.
And so it's been modified, and all of the, it's interesting, but all of the houses that have been built are all 2 bedrooms and a den, which the previous Board of Health chairman said, I don't care, that's still a 30-bedroom. But it's, when you look at the plan, it's 2 bedrooms and another room, same size, with no closet, and it's called a den. So everything was, my understanding is a total flow was for 3 bedrooms. And we can double check that.
Yeah,
Well, certainly, without a doubt, the 19 homes are 3 bedrooms, were designed for 3 bedrooms.
yeah, but that doesn't mean that that machine can flow the others if it wasn't. That's why I wanna make sure the pump house is for 3 bedrooms, based on the amount of houses that we have on A and B.
Right, A is, and it just don't, that's not my bailiwick, the
Right.
flows, but the worst case is that it would have been designed for the 2 bedrooms, for the 30, and 3 bedrooms for the.
Right, so we'll get a letter from the sewer department stating that the
Well,
system.
follow it short.
It'll tell us to follow. That'll answer that out of it.
Before we go on to the police, we had 3 more boards, but 2 of which are related, or are go on to talk about what the police said, so I'll just read those 2 first because they kind of pertain to that.
Yep.
The first one we'll do is from the Highway Department, dated March 21st, 2023. With the upcoming proposals for Stonegate Landing to be considered for a separate or creating a phase A and B, now may be a good time to consider some problems that need to be resolved now and not years from now. As we are all aware, the project has recently shown some good momentum towards getting some things done and moving in a positive direction. However, we also know it's been a very long time since this project has been under construction. I believe it has been since 2002. In other words, if a child was born a resident of Stonegate Landing, they may already be a college graduate, having spent their summers on an unfinished road
I think one of them.
as they were growing up with no sidewalks to get used to their playground and development. Already young adult and may even have their own kids now. With that being said, and also knowing that the intent of this project is to consider the roadways becoming a public way, we need to share some concerns, and now is a good time to address them. Here's my list in no particular order. They title this phase A. 1, I believe the entrance off of Route 138 is supposed to be a one-way. It has been observed on multiple occasions vehicles entering onto 138 within the development. Last Sunday alone, as I was traveling south on 138, I saw 3 vehicles exiting the development. Not sure how to resolve this except to consider having 2-way traffic. There are do not enter signs in the development where the egress meets the cul-de-sac. I am unsure if this could be enforced by local police currently being a private way. Regardless, bad habits are already formed. Also, keep in mind, there's a resident that has a driveway off of this entrance. How is this one way to be enforced? I guess the bottom line is, why was there one created to begin with? 2, has a curb cut been acquired from Mass DOT for the egress from Route 138? If not, this should happen, or to actually cut the curb as to not impede the traffic trying to exit Route 138. Currently, traffic will need to slow down considerably to negotiate the curb, as this may cause a rear-end collision if not corrected. 3, has a traffic study been done? Regardless, maybe we should revisit this to address the above concerns at a minimum and to address the current conditions both from the current development and the community. 4, the condition of the binder in the first phase is not designed to be left for a long period of time as a surface. It is coarse and allows for water to enter underneath to the foundation of the roadway. It is very evident that this has happened. As you drive through development, you will see a lot of alligator-type cracking, which allows for further water to enter under the surface and further deterioration of the roadway. The entire project binder needs to be addressed, either as an approved treatment prior to final paving or remove and reinstall. I know this is a tall order, but we are talking about a huge liability to the town if accepted with the current roadway foundation. 5, any bonds? If we have bonds available from the conception of the project, they may be out of date or not updated with current material costs. And 6, any sidewalks and trees. I bring these up together because this involves everyone's front yards. With time passing by, the developer will have challenges to install these since current residents are established and personal investments made with landscaping, parentheses 21 years. Phase B. 1, it may be prudent to focus on more bonding to make sure it is adequate with current/future market conditions. And 2, Improved timelines will need to be considered to avoid conditions presently in A. Why not consider having phase A to be completed as stipulation or prior to or prior phase B being started or even considered? Hopefully, I was able to articulate my concerns. Looking forward to a timely completion of Stargate Landing, signed Thomas Ferry, Highway Superintendent. Before I go on to comments on that specifically, I'm just going to go on to something from the town administrator as it also relates to some of the issues that are being addressed at this moment. This is from Mike Mullen, the town administrator, March 22nd, 2023. Members of the board, I write to offer brief but important comments on proposed Stonegate Landing modification to comprehensive permit application. It is not my intent to offer wide-ranging comments on the proposal, as I understand that it is the role of other town departments, residents, and stakeholders to provide input. I do write, however, to ask the board to take a close look at the roadway and related area infrastructure impacts that will be associated with the project. Specifically, I echo the comments and the concerns raised by the Highway Superintendent Thomas Ferry and Police Chief Sean Cronin about the existing condition of Stonegate Landing roadway infrastructure and the challenges associated with said infrastructure. Additionally, with the proposed increase in units included in the application, I also raised a concern about the area traffic and roadway infrastructure that will be affected by phase 2 of the project. I believe that it would be especially important for there to be completed an updated traffic study and an engineering assessment completed to assess the impacts to any existing town or state-owned roadway infrastructure and associated improvements that would be associated by this new phase of the project. To this end, I would encourage the board to look at engaging an outside peer review entity to further assess these issues and related impacts and/or costs they may present. And that's it. I know it was a lot, Greg, but I knew that it was related to what you wanted to talk about. So, if you want to, we do have more, but
Okay,
the more a little are unrelated.
yeah, Tommy hit a lot of it off. Again, this isn't what you're here for, it's what Mr. Federer's here for. But a couple of my concerns on this particular case is, I heard time and time again that I'm gonna get ahold of Mass DOT or Route 44, to have them, 138, whatever it is out there, 140, to have them come out and give us the permission to cut the curb. It's never been done. I personally have witnessed an accident on that corner. Today I drove through there and I took a video. That place is in deplorable shape, all over the place. I agree, Tommy hit everything I was about to say on the roads. My concern is this, two things. If we were to separate A and B, how are we gonna be guaranteed that A will have the road completed? There is no bond. There is no money there. The town of Dayton is not about to separate, in my opinion, B from A until we have some clarification whether if your potential buyer wants to take on section B, they're gonna be responsible as well as Mr. Federoff, and we're gonna want either a bond.
No, they're not buying, that's not gonna.
Well, then that's not gonna
So we
happen.
gotta discuss
This is
something.
why we're here.
Right, I
It's
understand.
not gonna go any further. In my opinion, this isn't gonna go any further until we can guarantee, and I need the bonds, I need whatever it's gonna take to make sure that section A is completed. Very deplorable. Everything's raising up, it's
I don't
cracks
disagree.
everywhere.
I don't
Remember
disagree.
when the developer came in the last meeting, he says, how am I gonna enter? I was like, I
Yeah.
already got a problem here,
Yeah.
I'm afraid to run heavy equipment. Number two, why is the playground locked? There's a lock on it. I just wanna know.
Why is there a lock?
Yeah.
The playground, should be supported by the homeowners association.
But is it that homeowners association's problem that it took you not you particularly, this development, 21 years to get to this point? It's not. That should be unlocked. That should never be locked. I'm like, well, maybe it's because of the equipment that's sitting around. That's not what you said. Secondly, there's supposed to be a bus turnaround, all right? It's dirt. It's not even there. The bus pulls over to the side. That bus is supposed to make the complete loop and do back. They cannot able to do that. There's a ton of things in phase A that are not even remotely close. I don't know what your situation is, but all I can tell you is I, as a person, I'm only one member of the board, I'm not willing to separate A from B until we have some kind of bond, some type of money to fix the infrastructure on phase A.
I fully expected that, and, I have met with Tom Perry a couple of times out there. He's a great guy to work
Oh,
with.
absolutely.
You know, and then, you know, the crazy world we live in and the monkey canning, but, you know, as he noted, we've been going best we can. And the place has been improved, but it's not.
Right, I see homes going up and see the houses almost need roofs.
What's
So
that?
the original houses almost need roofs already. You know what I mean? So this development's been going on a long time. I'm a builder, so I look at things.
I thoroughly agree
But
with
there
you.
was a previous developer also that said
Understood,
that.
and that's why I'm not saying
Yeah,
that,
okay, so
but
it could be.
as, yeah, he bid it.
Yeah.
So it's,
So he didn't do those, some
I know,
other
but
things.
it's his responsibility, because he, when you, just like your developer, that's.
There should have been a bond originally required by the planning board and somebody that slipped through the cracks.
I don't know how that happened, but I'm not gonna allow
I
phase B to go forward, in my opinion.
I agree with you.
I also have a problem with the excuse that this crazy world we live in and winter. We're talking about the condition of these people's lives.
What's that again?
We're talking about the condition of the places these people live in.
Right,
Quote unquote, this crazy world we live in and winter doesn't cut it.
okay. Well, I talk about, you know, the journey with COVID, I talked about interest rates going up, I talked about the general feeling in the world out there.
Why is there excuses every single time there's an issue with this development? Every single time there's an excuse and it's the most.
That's why we're bringing in.
I'm talking to him and not you.
Well, I'm sorry, I represent the applicant.
Then
All right,
what
and-
defense do you have for it
and-
then?
And we can discuss whatever you'd like to discuss, please.
I'm asking why there are excuses every time.
I can answer that question if you like.
Yeah.
I think primarily it's been lack of money.
Now, how did
No.
the LLC get the adequate money for the state funding if there's a lack of money at this point?
What's state funding? There's no state.
Well, whatever this project comprehensive permit, they have to get approval and all that stuff. This paperwork in here that's older than me, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous.
No, but I don't
This whole
understand the
development.
question about the.
Well, what I'm trying to say is, listen, excuses have had enough.
I understand.
You know, and as far as I'm concerned, I am not willing to separate, in your defense, A to B. So if that's all it's gonna take for you to tell your applicant, it's not happening,
We don't
that's not
want,
happening.
I don't think, we need to find a way to resolve this. I have no interest in going to the Housing Appeals Committee or anything like that.
do what you
So we
must.
need to figure it out together, and I think we're trying to get to that point. You're raising, the board's raising, and the town's raising a bunch of issues which have been outstanding for a long, long time. So
Absolutely.
I agree with you 100%.
Mhm.
So somehow we gotta resolve in order for the back parcel to happen, that's gonna help the front parcel,
Well, I need some.
financial.
We need a
So we
bond.
can discuss that. But I think more important, or as important, is how do we make the board comfortable that that work is gonna happen, that needs to happen? So first, I think an amount of money has to be determined.
Well, we're gonna need, engineers are gonna have to go out there, because I know
I
as well
agree.
as I do, that bind is junk.
Right.
So we're looking at an entire rip out, an entire replacement, unless Tommy can tell him something different, but what I saw on all the culverts, settlement, the culverts heaving, frost lines, everything's off.
So,
The entire infrastructure is failed. So you're asking us to go ahead and say, let me sell this and I can fix this. We've been hearing it for years, Paul, honestly, it's not you personally, but we've been hearing it
I don't
for
take
years.
it personally.
This board is so tired of listening about Stonegate Landing that it's been a thorn on our side. Let's fix phase A and then let's consider ourselves to go to phase B.
So how do you fix phase A? The only
That's
way,
between
no,
you two.
no, I think what has to happen is that an estimate has to be prepared.
Mhm.
Okay, with the help of Richard and others, okay, and as to what the town engineering department feels is necessary to do all the things that have to be done. So once that amount is determined, okay, then there's a question of how do we satisfy the town that that work can be happened? Is it a bond? Is it cash? Is it some other equivalent that the board knows that's gonna, it's just like any other subdivision. I mean, this is not my first subdivision in town.
Is it one of your tell me how many subdivisions, Paul, that have been since 2004? I want your honest opinion. Zero.
I'm not aware of any.
Okay, This is why I'm aggravated, because it shouldn't have been this way. All right, and
I
I know.
was not involved, and
I'm not saying you were.
Sorry, I interrupt. We do have more from the town. Did you have anything regarding the police studying the roadway? I just don't want to
No,
get.
you should, Tommy Ferry pretty much hit my thing.
Okay, so can I just continue the other towns first? Okay. The last one from, we have plenty of public input, but from the last written correspondence that I have from the town is from the Board of Health dated March 21st. Regarding Stonegate Landing review of Phase 2 subdivision modification. The office has received a copy of the application to modify Phase 2 of Stonegate Landing. The comprehensive permit modification only included lotting plans. There are no grading, profile, or detailed plans included. Please provide a full set of the Board of, to the Board of Health so we may complete our review. The project was originally approved in 2004. Subsequent to that, Dayton adopted a stormwater bylaw in 2008, and the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook was revised and updated in 2008. This project may not comply with these updated regulations. A significant portion of Phase 2 is within a Zone A surface water supply protection area. The type of drainage system, as well as the water quality volumes, need to meet the requirements for this type of outstanding resource water. A stormwater permit is required from Board of Health as the proposed area of disturbance of Phase 2 exceeds 35,000 square feet. The Board of Health is recommending that the zoning board require the following items. A, soil borings be performed every 200 feet along the entire proposed roadway. B, a soil boring at the location of every proposed home. C, every basement floor must be above the design water table, in parentheses, condition 11 of the conditions of the approval general requirements. D, the proposed roadway must be a minimum of 18 inches above the design water table. E, the storm management handbook requires one soil sample for every 5,000 square feet of drainage basin bottom, with a minimum of these 3 samples for each infiltration basin. F, all soil testing should be performed in the presence of the Board of Health agent. G, this project should also be reviewed by a third-party peer review engineer. This review should include an evaluation of the stormwater management system and its compliance with the stormwater handbook. Protection of the water supply is a serious issue, and we look forward to working with the design engineer and the zoning board to ensure the proposed subdivision complies with these regulations. Thank you sincerely, Todd Pilling, Board of Health Stormwater Agent. That is the last, I believe, written correspondence of the town boards that I have. I know there is a handful of emails that I think you might have.
I just grabbed it.
Okay, yeah, from the public, which we will get to. Is there any comments from the board regarding this, the specific one that I just read from the Board of Health?
Before they comment, Mr. Chairman, there is an email from, maybe you thought this was a public
I
email, from the
probably
conservation
did.
agent.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
We should put it on.
Oh, okay. So this is from Lisa Caldonia, Tuesday, March 21st, 1:30. To carry CC Jim Digits and Charlie Mello, ZBA comprehensive permit modification for Stonegate Landing. Hi, Carrie. We are in receipt of the request by Delphic Associates to the ZBA to modify a comprehensive permit for Phase 2 Stonegate Landing. Please note the Conservation Commission is not in receipt of a current approved wetland delineation for this project. There is no Conservation Commission permit on the subject property. Thanks, Lisa. And so, any comments from the board about either of these 2 last items I just read?
Not at this time for me.
I know we have people in the public, but I'll just get into the written correspondence from abutters. If the person is here tonight as I'm reading it, if they choose to have anything else to add, they certainly can. If not, they can just, we'll read it into the record regardless. So the first one that I have is from Julie Hebert. Dr. Ross, is she here tonight? So this is dated March 17th, 2:30. Hello, I live on Stowgate Landing and received notice of the hearing for Wednesday, the 22nd. I looked online but didn't see the agenda packet online. Can you send me the information relating to the Stowgate Landing hearing? I'm trying to understand what the developer is looking to do in terms of splitting up the liability. I am concerned because we have been through a lot at the length of time that this development has been pending, and the length of time that this development has been pending is crazy. Things aren't even complete in phase one yet, and allowing him to sell the second phase might make him even less likely to finish our phase. I am also concerned because we have an HOA and things like the sewer pumping station may be covered under that agreement. In parentheses, still not sure about that, but how would both phases be impacted by payments and liabilities for the HOA? I'm not expecting you to answer, but we all have concerns that we want to bring forward, and get copies of this information would help us understand better. Thank you very much, Julie. Since this, have you received anything that you needed?
I did get a copy of the comprehensive permit, so yes, thank you.
Do you have anything you want to add, or just for now?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the comments that you've made, because a lot of what you've said and what the other members of public officials have said completely reiterate what a lot of us are going through. So reiterating all that, the horrible conditions of the road, I mean, my kids can barely ride their bikes on it. There's constantly potholes everywhere. The 138 entrance is terrible. I myself have almost been there multiple times. And again, from a liability standpoint, separating the two, we're an HOA as well, so it's really kind of confusing. How do you separate a liability when the whole thing is an HOA? I have concerns that Part B won't be responsible for certain things that will then be on Part A. There's a lot of it. I appreciate everything you guys have said. It's been 12 years that I've lived on the property, and I wasn't even close to the first house, so, it's frustrating. We've been living here for a while. We want it to get finished. We want it to be finished to the specs that, the town is looking for. I worry too, as a taxpayer, I know I live on the street, but as a taxpayer, what maintenance has been done on the roads, on the infrastructure, on the sewer. So, again, I agree with the peer review. We should be looking at, how is the age of everything impacted its viability to the town? Because, at the end of the day, if the town chooses to accept the road, which I hope they do, because I've been here for a long time, and I'm a taxpayer, I want it to be accepted. How are they gonna accept the road if 20 years has passed without any maintenance on the sewer or on the roads, and they fall apart? The one house that doesn't have the sewer that's connected, I know you're saying it'll just resolve itself, but it will be the town's problem to fix that. So these are concerns that we have. Those are just a few of them.
Craig,
Thank you.
yeah, of course. See, I think you had a couple more emails there from the public.
Oh, did I?
I think you did.
I took your packet, I'm sorry. I had two, so I must have Jonathan's underneath mine.
Maybe.
No, yours was from the last meeting.
Oh, last meeting, okay.
So unless I'm missing something, I think the only other one that I have is, if I'm missing something.
Julie Stevens.
So was there a third one, or was that it?
There was two of them, so there was one from Julie Hebert and Julie Stevens.
Okay, all right, so this is the final written correspondence that we have. Julie Stevens, is she here tonight? No, okay. Hi Carrie, thank you for taking, this is dated Tuesday, March 21st, 8:30 a.m. regarding Stowgate Landing to Carrie. Hi Carrie, thank you for taking your time to speak with me. As I stated, I am not sure I'll be at this one meeting, but I'll make sure I'm at the next. We will be notified the same way for the next meeting. Thank you for taking my concerns and addressing them on my behalf. I am assuming others from my neighborhood will have the same concerns, but in case, here are mine. I understand Rich Federoff would like to sell phase 2 to another developer, but I want to make sure our phase, which is phase 1, has the things he promised to do be completed. First and most importantly, what happens to the road completion, which includes top coat. Also, the entrance wall has been completed the entrance wall has to be completed along with the school bus stops. The playground was to be fully completed. It was open for the first 2 years of living, but now there has been locks and weeds, and the area was horrible. Also, will phase 2 be completely separate from phase 1, which includes their common areas and taxes? Thank you for your time and hearing my concluding questions. Julie Stevens, 962 Stonegate Landing. And Julie, can we just have your address for the record if you don't mind?
Sure, it's 953.
Okay. And that goes for anyone else who chooses to speak, just make sure you state your name and your address for the record. Just before you speak, just so we can have that for the meeting minutes. Now that we've gone over that, is there anybody from the town first in public who wishes to speak, representing any town boards specifically? Is there anybody from the town for citizens or butters or anybody who has any comments? Or is everyone that's fine, everyone just here just to listen?
I have a small comment. Paul Evelyn, 530 Mango Terrace, in Stonegate Landing. Great information. I think these guys are supporting us and understanding what we're going through. But we all mentioned it's been years and years. Is this just gonna be years and years and years? Is there a different angle we can look at this and maybe try to get the town to take over the whole property? And maybe the town can use the property to sell off to somebody else to profit from that, to be able to get the roads done. So is there a different way we can look at it from a different angle? Because I feel like we're gonna be here next year, and the year after, and the year after. And it's frustrating. I mean, I've only been there 9 years, but there's people been there a lot longer. And this is just going on year after year, and you heard it from his lawyer, there's no money. These are big projects, very big projects. That's just my concern.
Greg, your experience with
So
why did it pass, is that ever?
this is a unique situation. And I wanna first off say, I don't know how this development got through without a bond or without a piece of property being used as a
I agree.
bond. We've always done that in the past, I'll discuss.
Were you on, sorry, yes, were you on the board when this is first?
No.
So no one here was. I was. I was.
I'm just saying, I don't know.
I didn't know they had on the board here.
Obviously, we need to come to a plan. All right, talk is cheap, we've been doing this talk now for 21 years. We need to have an engineer come out, figure out what it's gonna cost to fix the road.
It's only 19 years.
Oh,
That does not matter.
okay, so
Really,
we'll say, we'll just call it 19, whatever it is,
Yeah.
19 years.
I didn't get involved in 2000.
No, I know you did, I know you did, but when you took on this project, you knew what you had. So, you
I'm
know.
not sure anybody knows.
I
Well,
actually agree with everything you're saying.
reading is one thing, we need to come with a plan to fix this.
I agree.
So how many lots are left on phase A?
Phase A, we have
I see some new ones going up,
7 more lots.
7 more lots, how many of those are affordable?
And 5 market rate.
5 market rates.
So
So
affordable, 5 market rate.
first thing we need to do is you need to hire an engineer, and I believe the town should work with another engineer, with your engineer, to come up with a plan, what's it gonna cost to make infrastructure of phase A acceptable for the town of Dayton.
Conversations I've had with Tom Berry is that, he's asked me, I have a couple, a JB Asphalt, it's a big company, I can't remember what located, and, they're gonna come out and evaluate the road, and that's Tom.
I still think that our engineer from the town needs to
I agree.
review this.
Yeah,
Well, do you want, so, does it make, so we're looking for an estimate on what it's gonna cost to do all
Fix
of
the
them.
infrastructure of phase
I
A.
understand, so, should your town engineer,
Mhm.
he's very familiar with all of the issues.
So he retired. Our engineer is not the same engineer anymore.
No, I mean, what's his name, Tom Ferry?
Tom Ferry, the town, okay,
The town.
so the town had to be
So
on.
does it make sense to have, I mean,
I would love to have him involved, I'm not saying that,
He's not the.
But he's not an
he's not
engineer.
okay,
I'd like
all right,
an
so
engineer
who
to
do
go
you
out.
use for peer review as well?
Well, who do we have on the planning board?
No, planning board, it's Green International.
There you go,
Oh,
it's
yeah, that's a large international firm, you
Well-
need to use somebody local, that's what
Okay,
I'm saying.
so whoever you get, Green International is still gonna look over it. Because we're gonna have our engineer review your engineering, make sure it's the way the town's gonna, if the people want the town to accept the road, our town engineer must agree to what, whoever you hire, I'm adequate, that's good enough, do it. If they say they want the entire structure taken out and your guy says, no, it's not needed, and again, that's between the engineers, they usually work well, they play good in the sandbox together. let's make them happen, let's get this done. So get the engineering taken care of on phase
But
A.
isn't Green International, aren't they primary traffic?
I'm not sure. But
Use them.
whoever the town is, we have counsel for that, whoever we use.
So you want Richard to hire his own engineer, okay, and then send it to you for.
Send it for here for review, our town engineer will approve it.
I mean, the alternative, if you're trying to be more cost efficient, is to have Green International do it.
Paying twice,
To have who do it?
Just pay him once.
The
that's what I'm
town,
saying.
the town and the town's,
Well, who
Engineering
else have you
consultant.
used for peer review? Are there other firms?
It was Peter Williams forever.
For years.
Well, I think he's Williams is-
retired.
Yeah, right, but, there's.
Well, we can look into that. But I don't
Okay.
wanna wait months upon months, cause then it's gonna be, hey, I can't do it now because the snow's flying.
Sure, I understand.
So,
Okay,
we need the engineering.
so you're open to a suggestion that they're like, we're in Bridgewater, West Bridgewater, a whole bunch, and there are local firms
They
there.
have a license.
Just,
they will-
oh yeah, Driscoll Associates, there's a bunch of them that some of you may be familiar, so we may submit a name to you.
Okay. We need an engineering,
I think that you've got to be careful about some of the names that you submit, because they may have pending applications before the board as developers,
I
engineers.
should know which ones those are, I
So
think.
those are, or before the planning board, I mean, so those are the pieces here, you can certainly work with Carrie to determine if you're going to have, just utilize the town's engineer, or if you're looking to hire your own and then you're.
No, I'm looking to make it as cost efficient as possible, and I just don't know enough about Green. I've hired them before, primarily for traffic. I'm not too familiar with.
so this development's another thing, traffic, okay, so this
Well, it's
development.
not, but traffic was done a long time, so there's no increase in density.
No, there is, because the Berkeley Bridge has since now been opened up for larger trucks to come over.
But
No, I agree, but Center Street is a busy street. All right, so let's just start with the engineering right now, okay? And I definitely think that, we also need you to get a hold of the Mass DOT and get the curb check thing going on. I don't know if you talked to Donna, there's a lady up there I know, just give the call there. She'll come down, she'll look at 138, she'll give you the blessing, whatever you need to do. It doesn't happen overnight, but it needs to happen. I mean, I've heard about this, I didn't have gray
There
hair.
must have been a curb cut issue way back with
Of
the
course,
road,
it wasn't, but it wasn't big enough.
but it was,
There was a curb cut.
Yeah, but otherwise they couldn't have had that driveway.
Right, and that road on your defense, it does state one way, because I'm like an idiot, I never noticed that, I went right out. All right, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I said do not enter, and I took a video of me driving through there today, and that place is in tough shape.
Let me ask you just a general question. To me, it seems to me, why have an entrance on 138? Why not just turn that into a
I
cul-de-sac?
think they needed it for the reasons of the size of the lot, you needed 2 exits off the property.
You don't need to, we do.
Well, that's
Stonegate, Stony Ridge. 61 houses.
But it has multiple routes and stuff.
It had one entrance going in and out. Now, I think what's happened, there was, as a result of the abutting subdivision that was kind of put together, I think they created a connector road.
And there is a house with a driveway on that road, so that's irrelevant, we need that road.
the owner of that driveway has no right to even use that road.
Well, that's between you and them, I
Like,
guess.
I'll,
But that house is built utilizing that driveway, that road, and it was issued a permit. So how that happened, I have no idea.
it's a legal permit.
So that house does have an entrance onto that.
You wanna pursue that, I'll pursue that.
Yeah, but that, just letting you know, that particular house has an entrance, a driveway coming off your road, correct?
We can't be held responsible, but we can.
But
look at our
anyways,
engineering.
so that,
Okay.
getting rid of that is not gonna happen.
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
I just respectfully, I just wanna say, we live on the property, so we can tell you that that entrance is definitely needed. And I would urge for it to be a two-way, because the other entrance goes to where the school is. There's a lot of traffic that constantly
Right.
builds up at the school. So actually having access to 138, that's where most of the traffic is leaving, I think would make more sense for it to be a two-way.
And last time you were in front of us,
Wait,
there was
it's
a
not two-way.
pothole, it's still a pothole. It never got addressed, right on 138, it's still
Where
there. 138, just walk right out of here, walk across the street, you'll trip right in it, and I got pictures of it, there's still that pothole. I mean, we talked about this, when's the last time you were in front of us? It's been a while, and it's still there, it's never been addressed. These are just little things that I think the homeowners association would have been a little more better with you if you would at least show some effort to take care of these things. Now, I do see a piece of blacktop coming out of someone's driveway in the cul-de-sac and they blacktopped onto the street. I don't know if you did that
They
or.
did it without my permission.
Well, they did it because it was a hole. It was all falling apart, Paul.
But they have no right to even use that street. Why do I have to take, they don't own the right to use
Okay,
that
so
road.
you say they don't own the right, I'm gonna show
They
you
don't.
something. I'm gonna show you something right now.
There you go.
Page. Come here for a minute.
Looking at my book, I got it right there.
Page 1 of 3.
Yep.
Is this what you submitted to the town of Dayton?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is the driveway that I'm talking about, right here. The blacktop is right here.
Oh, excuse me, point of order, are you recording this meeting? Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, point of
Let's
order.
stand up.
This gentleman is recording, he has to announce this publicly when it starts. This is an illegal recording.
Okay,
The whole meeting's being recorded.
this is a public.
You never know.
Facility.
Hold on.
But this particular house that's on here, I'm not talking about that though. I was talking about the blacktop that was in here.
Right on this
Yeah,
circle.
yeah, so you came in, it looks like this person just did their driveway. And then whoever did it, he can just put a patch in it because it was all before.
But on this last house.
Yeah, so if you
Record without,
came into this
sorry,
cul-de-sac to turn
recorded.
around and
Sure.
go
You
back.
gotta
Yeah,
get the personal device off.
So there's a big patch somebody
Yeah,
had put up
there's a
there.
recording that we put up on Zoom of this whole.
So, all I'm saying is the infrastructure shows it as a one-way, it doesn't say what way it is going up until you're in the development, and then it shows it.
The original idea was just for emergency vehicles,
Yeah,
Right,
just for
sorry,
fire,
conversation
police,
going on. You
and,
just gotta put it away for.
over the years, I put speed bumps
There
in, I
is,
put
but-
signs up, everybody just wants them, goes out.
okay.
There's a recording being made.
I mean, I can put a gate
of this
there,
meeting
break
on
up a
the
gate.
PDF.
make
Well,
it-
that would.
All right, Richard, let's,
I can talk to
Richard,
the
excuse
fire
me.
department
That
about
would
that.
have to be done with the, you'd have to deal with that with engineering.
Exactly.
That's really not what I'm talking about, I was talking about right here though. It's all falling apart. So let's get back to the point where we're gonna get an engineer.
Yes,
We're gonna have an engineer come out here and we're gonna take a look at all of phase A. Phase B has not been built. You're gonna go over to the playground, and gonna remove the lock on it. Okay, because by the time these people be able to use that, they're gonna be, those things will be falling apart.
Well, and why was the law?
There's a law on that.
I know that, but why?
I have no idea, cause I guess he's saying the homeowners association, when they take it over, he was giving it to them, that was the way that it was written, but at the end of the day, I want the lock removed off of the playground so the kids can use the park.
Well, do you have any?
well, does the HOA have their own insurance policy for that? I wonder.
I have no idea.
Hold on, we have someone here who can discuss that.
So my name is Andrea Sheedy, I'm at 960 Stonegate Landing. So we were told by Richard that the playground was locked because there was no insurance on it. At one point, he did
It was
try,
what? I'm
there
sorry.
was no insurance on the playground. So at one point, Richard did try to collect thousands of dollars from all of us for back homeowners association fees. And at that point, when we all basically said, we're not paying for this, that's when he locked the playground.
There are some real legal issues.
Hold on, sorry.
Sounds good.
I think we need to take let's take a recess and pause for a moment because there's a question here about a recording that needs to be addressed before we continue.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Good question.
You need to go into recess.
All right, so is there a motion to go into recess briefly?
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what's,
So do we gotta
So
stop
I can go
cable?
and talk to, no, you
Okay.
do need to stop cable for the
I
recording.
thought so, yeah.
You can talk to the gentleman for a second.
I don't wanna end it though.
No.
Pause the
Pause it.
recording.
you can pause it. Terry, so on the top,
Right
well,
there.
down the line, right, pause. Or there, yeah. So the time is 8:38, officially back from our recess. Is everything squared away for the recording, the Okay,
So right at this stage, I think the last thing that was said, that there was a request to remove the lock on the playground, is what you were saying.
Yeah, well,
well, I think we did, I mean, I don't know if it was a formal request, but I think we guys were discussing.
we were
it,
talking about the padlock thing and,
And I wasn't sure why it was there to begin with, and we started to get that addressed.
I have a couple questions. Is there a homeowner association even assigned yet?
Well, from what I understand, there's an HOA that is, which I have not seen, which is on record at the registry of deeds. But however, there are some of the neighbors who bring to my attention that there are certain things in that HOA that are unusual. And that and some of the deeds say that the owners are not to pay an HOA fee until the road is basically complete. So there is a document, but there's been no collection, my understanding.
So is there 3 members or 4 members amongst us that are actually in the HOA? So it's only on paper by that, is what you're saying?
No, it's the original, I don't know whether it's Tadanico or whether it's Richard, so when it first went on record, so I'm gonna try and check.
It was time neighbors.
So when Tadanico, the 3 developers ago, okay, put the HOA documents on record, there was nothing done to enforce whatever the documents may say. Typically, an HOA has a budget, all right, for basically snow removal and different kinds of things. And each homeowner, okay, pays a fee based on, the percentage. So I don't think that's never been done.
But stuff, you said, does the homeowner, do the people in this room pay for the snow?
No.
You?
I'm sorry, Jim.
You're paying for the snow?
Snow removal.
Well, the,
It's either they're paying for it or you're paying
Who's
for it.
paying for the snow removal?
I am.
Okay, so there is no HOA, in my eyes, is you're paying for the snow. So that's,
It should be, has not been.
That's
okay,
right.
And I think that's part of the problem.
yeah,
Okay, there was never any fees paid, and I understand it should have been done in the beginning when the road was in decent shape.
of course.
So now what's happening, a lot of the neighbors are saying, why the hell should I pay HOA fee with this shit, stuff all over the place, and thing falling apart, et cetera, I don't blame them. So to answer your question, that I'm told there's an HOA on record, but no collections, nothing's been done.
no, that's not true. There are some neighbors that pay. It's
Pay
20,
you?
yeah, they pay Stonegate Landing Homeowners Association. We have a bank account and the money goes right in there. And it's, the initial monthly fee at adoption was set at $20 per month, or $240 per year, okay? And the first group of people then, Mr. Tadnico, didn't send any bills out, and then he got in a lot of trouble with the bank, and there was a lot of things going on, okay? I got involved, and, if you take, like the playground, the 2 entrances coming in, okay? It says the snow plow moving and sanding also, okay? So I did, I think it was 3 years ago, 2019, tried to fix this, and I sent everybody a notice. We had a meeting at a church in Taunton, okay? And one of the issues was that I'm not building in the timely manner, okay? And that I should, I should hire someone to manage it, okay? But to my head, I would be paying $20 for every lot I own too. So I want that, and I just.
So that account's sitting there with cash in it for the
Yeah.
homeowner association.
Yeah.
So how does this work, Marguerite, now? So this is a
Well,
weird-
there's a lot of
There's
money.
not much money, that's nothing.
Right.
There's not enough money to pay the bills. No, I loan the association money every month to pay the bills.
I just want to get the question asked right.
I'm sorry.
We've got an HOA.
Julie, you at 953 Sterling Landing. I don't remember everything off the top of my head, but there is a document, but it has a lot of language in it with, how it gets transferred over. And as of yet, none of that has been triggered. So he is still responsible for it. In addition, many of us had, when we first bought our houses, I have documents that he signed, that we all signed, saying that we don't get any kind of association fee until the whole subdivision is complete. I have that document. I'm sure other people have their documents too. We all signed it when we bought the house. So that's why nothing has happened. He tried to get all of us to make payments for thousands and thousands of dollars out of nowhere. And as you said, he's locked the playground, he's prevented us from having certain things that are part of the association fee. So yeah, no one has paid it. Or, I mean, I don't know if some people have it.
So the question from Marguerite to you is go jump into this playground thing with the insurance.
So I have to look at the approved homeowners association documents myself because I obviously reviewed them, I want to say a good 15 years ago, if not more. Typically, the HOAs in 40B developments had a triggering mechanism of some sort. I'm not sure when that was. I know you made it this particular homeowners association had certain responsibilities back in 2004 when it was permitted. In 2009, when there was a modification, I just went back into this to look at it. There was some additional responsibilities for the homeowners association addressing the school bus turnaround, the playground, maintenance of the sewer pump station, all of those pieces. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the homeowners association are the individual residents. It still could be the developer. It depends on whether or not that triggering event has occurred.
Right.
And then even if that triggering event has occurred, there may be procedures potentially within the homeowners association documents that had to be followed in order for this to officially be turned over from the developer to the individual homeowners. And it would, at the very least, typically involve some sort of election of new trustees. And so if there hasn't been a transfer of the trustees, then, and the trustee remains Stonegate Landing LLC, then generally that is the entity that is responsible for the homeowners association. And the homeowners association under the comprehensive permit, in turn, is responsible for providing all this maintenance and upkeep.
We
So
were just talking about this one time ago.
That being said,
I don't know the issue on the deeds, because I never looked at individual
Section 8B.
deeds, so I have no idea if there's
Yeah.
another issue that you would probably want to bring up, but.
And I agree with you, that's pretty typical
Right.
of what, now,
But
I've also seen it typical, and we have to check it, both of us, but that sometimes the individual, for example, Stonegate, the first unit owner starts right away. Because the roadway is owned by the association.
in that
Then it's
case,
usually there's a turnover of that 60-70% of the units, and there's an election process.
I think in that case, though, it might be because the entire roadway is constructed. And
No, it's before it's.
infrastructure is in place before all the homes are built. This particular subdivision, as I recall, was built in phases, even the roadway infrastructure, and that's part of the reason why there isn't a bond right now. Because the bonding did exist at one point in time. There was a bond.
There was.
And the bond, what it didn't have was what you're now insisting upon, sort of that requirement that there be something left over and maintained by the town. So that didn't happen because the idea was that you were bonding it on a phased basis. But the development never got past being built in phase 2, which is the second half of parcel A. So because we haven't gotten into phase 3, there will be a triggering obligation for a further bond, no matter what, just under the terms of the comprehensive permit. Once phase B, or parcel B, which is phase 3 and 4, starts to be constructed, there's probably a need to take a look at that bonding language and make a modification to it as part of this overall process that is before you now, so that you now aren't in the same position in the future. And you as a town and as a board, you've insisted on, partly because of the lessons you've learned through Stonegate Landing, you've insisted on a retention of monies before a bond is ever released. You've insisted that occur, and that if things happen on a phased basis, there's nothing that's just eliminated entirely. That's the reason there's no bond right now, is that no one envisioned the length of time this was going to take. They completed a certain phase, they did the infrastructure for the next phase, completed that, and there wasn't that retention provision. I'm not even sure that retention provision would have even been sufficient to cover this length of time, to be perfectly honest.
And the road was unfinished, it was never finished at all.
Right, because it was never intended to be finally finished until phase 4 was constructed. So you know, again, looking at this in hindsight,
Sure.
would do this very differently. The town has done this very differently with subsequent comprehensive permits and by right subdivisions. They bonded it and insisted on bonding very, very differently. But here, that's where the bonding issue went. I would say that's one thing for the next meeting. I'm gonna take a look at the homeowner association agreement. Mr. Cousin can as well, and he can certainly present what he believes to be the case. I can take a look at it and tell you what I believe to be the situation. You know, you're going to need to look and find out what's on record. If a homeowner wants to submit for the town's review, not, you know, for the part of the record in here, wants to submit a copy of a deed that has particular language, you certainly can do that, or you can send it to Mr. Cousin. I mean, I can't necessarily just provide you with an opinion. I have to be asked by the board to take a look at deed language.
I'm fine with that, the record, yes.
So, but they can submit it into the record, we can look at all of that.
Please.
And I'll try to do at least a background review of the homeowner association documents and bring them with me.
Just because it was being talked about before the recess, so the playground being unlocked. So hypothetically, they say, please unlock it, he unlocks it, tomorrow's,
Somebody gets hurt, right?
whether it's because of the structure, whether a kid innocently trips over their own 2 feet and falls, regardless of how or why, my question is with it still being under him, he unlocks it, where does the safety liability come into play for that? If they were to unlock it to start making these things a little more accessible to the people who
Those
live there.
springs coming, you know what I mean? I drove by and
I mean, it needs to be cleaned up, I'm not
Oh,
even
yeah.
going there yet, it would need to be, I'm not saying it should be, but is there, would be even a point to be looking at that if, I guess where would the liability fall if it was still under?
I mean, it's common land to this subdivision, this is a private subdivision, so it is common land, it's owned, if there is they probably would be suing the homeowners association trust. If these people are actually, I haven't seen that document, if they believe that there's a chance that they have some liability as members of the homeowners association, then they would be jointly and equally responsible. If it's just simply the developer at this stage, and the developer would be the entity that would see that, but it's the trust itself, that's really the responsible entity. And so if the trust is insolvent.
So we probably shouldn't put any kind of request in that yet,
No.
until we've seen the documents, just so we can get that. Like, that's something we can possibly visit next meeting, once there's been more deep diving into this, into the documents for this, or is that something that you feel like can be discussed prior to that?
Well, so it's not the town's job to make that decision, necessarily. It's your job to say, we're supposed to have a playground, the playground is supposed to be used, the playground is supposed to be maintained by the homeowners association. The homeowners association is responsible for that playground, you already have those conditions. There's a reason that the homeowners association is not providing that playground, you want to know why. But it's not for you to decide who's liable if there's an issue and there's an injury on it.
Okay.
You already have established that there needs to be a playground that is owned by the homeowners association, that playground has been constructed.
And so it is locked because why?
That's what you've got.
Well, in the argument of homeowners stays, okay, now I obviously carry general liability for the whole project, okay? But when it comes to the playground, we gotta get a specific right, okay? And for the first 3 or 4 years, I paid that fee, it was $1,000, okay? And was part of the permit was that it would only be open from, certain months during there. And it'd be, it's probably $1,500 now, all right? And but 3 years ago, I sent a letter out to everyone and said, liability insurance to keep this playground open is $1,000, okay? Everyone sent me $20 with nobody sent me a nickel.
Why would they send you a nickel if your obligation is to have a playground accessible to the town?
Well, it's definitely the homeowners.
But it's not the homeowner's problem, association's problem, it's because it's not developed, it's taken 19 years, as you clarified.
We're talking
To get
just
it.
about the playground.
Yeah.
I get it, but I'm
That
just,
was approved and built at my expense,
Yeah.
okay? That was for the benefit of the homeowners.
but it was in
I
the
just asked
comprehensive
them-
permit to do it.
What's that?
It was in the permit to do it.
Right, but it was for the benefit of the homeowner.
Of course.
Okay, as an added benefit, okay? So I paid it, built it, Yeah,
So let's get back to the couple things that we got a minute, I wanna go over some.
Can we, we just make sure we wrap up the playground, I mean,
Yeah, the playground thing, so
I think it
feel-
needs to be unlocked and cleaned up.
yeah, it's
The one that's breaking, is their obligation to have the playground accessible, cleaned up. I don't think there's any more discussion as to, well, I asked them for money and they, the playground needs to be cleaned, if the weather's breaking, it's time to get the amenities that need to be, but it needs to be presentable, it's not, I don't want it to be unlocked and, alright, I found with the weeds, like, that's not gonna happen either. So I guess
Well,
that's
this is
what.
the other concern I have, now the construction is gonna, if phase B goes, now you go there, there's all kinds of equipment sitting on either side of the playground. So now there's gonna be construction going on, you really don't want kids near that playground right now anyways.
The construction will be much further down.
Yeah, but where they got the equipment right now is parked right there. You know, they got all the equipment sitting there, like, ready to go into the next phase, but I do agree with you, I don't think this is the homeowners association's issue, I think this is really, you know, which is yours, I mean, you know, it's taking this long.
Mentioned, everyone could be sued.
Right, I agree.
So why not just put a Band-Aid on it? $10 a household, $20, near the playground.
So again, it's not, if you feel that you're gonna have to go talk to your attorneys about what your options are. If you think that this is not an obligation for the developer to pay, and it's an obligation for the individual homeowners to pay. That may or may not be true under the terms of the homeowners association agreement. But it is the homeowners association that is responsible for this playground. The liability runs to them. Whoever is the I don't know who the homeowners association is right now. I don't know if it's the individual lot owners, of which you are some of them,
Right,
or if it's just the developer right now.
no, it's individual law.
It may or may not be, and that's something that you are going to have to determine. But again, the town was obligated, or you were obligated to construct this playground prior to issuance of the 16th occupancy permit. Actually, I think that got modified further. You had to spend a minimum amount of money in purchasing the playground recreation. You needed to meet with the playground commissioner and obtain approval from them for the landscaping, including all gravel and other ground cover for the playground area.
Right.
It may make sense for the playground commissioner to, maybe you ask them to meet with the playground commissioner and see what he has to say about fixing this playground and getting it ready to a point where it's safe for kids to use it.
Yeah, fine, whatever we need to do. I mean, if that has become from the
And
board.
report back to the board on that, because this playground should be operable at this stage.
Would that request come from the board to the playground commissioner?
It would come from you to the developer tonight. You would say, I'd like you to go and meet with the playground commissioner and report back and have on that to us and find out what needs to be done to make this a safe, operable playground.
Can we get that
It
done?
was built in the same standard as a public playground, and I consulted with them about that and bought the
But
equipment.
it's now been years
Well, I still,
unkept.
yeah, well, because every year there's some maintenance, right? You have to check all the swings,
Has that
check all the
happened?
bolts, check all that. You've got to, cut the grass, pull the weeds, and keep it going. And, with the pushback that it's your problem, not mine, I tried to say it isn't mine, based on what you just said, and nobody wants to pay.
Right, but my point is that you have other options available to you that you can certainly talk to an attorney about. If you feel that it's the responsibility of the individual homeowners and not total responsibility of the developer. That doesn't eliminate the responsibility of the homeowners association itself to have an operable playground. If you have a playground now that has not been kept up for a number of years, there's probably a safety concern associated with that.
That's what
And I
I'm
think
saying.
that you probably as a board may want to require the developer to go and meet with the playground commissioner and assess that, determine what needs to make it safe and operable, and have that report brought back to you so that you know what the status of that is for the next meeting.
I'm not the only voting member on this case, but I want that. So if there any other feedback from the board on that,
I think that's
I'm not the only board member, so I mean, or non-voting members, I think.
I'm on board with that.
I agree, I just have I'm not sure if he's the one that we have go out there and see if it's
I
safe,
think that,
but I think he would be the one that would go out there and make sure.
Start,
Just like
start.
give us a starting point of that, and go forward from there. So just go back, we're jumping all over the places, so
Yeah,
you're
I'd like
gonna
to
get a
go back to
generator,
your
you're gonna
list.
get
There you
an engineer.
I wanna get back to that
You
list
get
of
an
what,
engineer, and you're gonna have him come out, and he's gonna survey the entire area of A, infrastructure.
Yeah.
To see what the
survey may
road,
not be the right word, but
Well,
yes, yeah, I
to
know
the
what you mean,
infrastructure.
yeah, yeah.
okay, and then
Well,
upon,
I think, the more I think about this, I think we're inclined maybe to get a quote from the,
I think it's in the best interest, because it's gonna pay twice.
okay.
Next question, so when the bill comes in, do you have the money to pay for the engineering?
Who will we hire?
We don't know.
I don't know yet, I'm just saying, how many houses are left in A?
7 left.
Seven.
Five
Seven
lots,
lots,
five
7 lots.
5 lots.
5 market lots.
Okay, so, Marguerite, are we able to
So it
go,
would be through the 53G account.
okay,
So you just need to make sure that there's enough of a, you usually ask for a reimbursement at a certain reduction number. So I'm not sure where that account sits right now.
I'm not sure at all.
So, you know, if they're willing to go simply with the town's engineer, and Paul's familiar with this process, then Carrie's gonna make sure that the 53G account has sufficient funds in it. There will need to be an agreement that that gets signed with that consultant. And they'll determine what the rates are based on that.
then we're gonna need to know how you,
Well, we wanna develop a scope of work that really.
that's the thing, and we know it's not gonna be $100,000.
I don't know.
Oh, it's gonna be more.
If you don't do it.
Oh, no,
you gotta do
Not for
it.
the engineer, I'm just talking about the engineer,
Oh, yeah.
not the work,
So
yeah.
my concern is that, obviously, the prolonging of a project is no
Yeah.
money.
So the scope of work is really to assess the roadway, the infrastructure,
With
the
the
subbase, that was put down, the condition of subbase,
Yeah,
what needs to be done, so to speak, in order to bring it up into,
so this
Yeah,
is what I
up to-
suggested, I
up to
don't
the-
know if we're able to do this, he's got 10 market houses on there. Are we able to go after any of those houses to use for the funding of the road if he's not willing to get us a bond for that?
there's not 10,
You just said there was 10.
no,
So
that's
seven.
Five affordable?
seven, no,
Five markets, 2 or 4.
7 houses left in total, of
Yeah.
which 2 are affordable, 5 are market rate.
So 5 of the market rates, are we possible, if for some reason we need to put something on there in order to make sure the town is covered for that road?
So you're better off getting cash. That's a reality, but you don't know how much cash or how many lots you need to
Yes.
reserve until you
Yes.
get an estimate, which is why you need to go through the
But I don't wanna
engineering.
see these get sold and built, and then we have no revenue, we know we're out.
No, if they're sold and built, he still has a responsibility to finish the infrastructure to the roadway standards. You have not approved yet the request that's before you, which involves both a change in who will be responsible for developing phase B, as well as the other parts of that request is that there's no liability for this person with regard to phase A. So
What's your
that
plan
still has
for-
to be approved. In the course of that approval, if you are saying we likely are going to require some type of a bond, whether it's a
Absolutely.
lot bond or a cash bond or something else, we can talk about that. But until, we don't know how much that's going to be until we get an
Right,
engineer.
but I'm just saying, he's got these houses sitting there, they're gonna be selling the markets there, people are buying, things are happening, I've seen a lot of things going on. You know, I just like, I understand if he could sell B, he can finish A. I'd rather see that A is done, and then the cost certification, how you're gonna do that between A and B.
Cost certification?
Yeah,
Well, that's easy.
you sure?
Well, there's been so much money lost here, that there's no profit.
That's what I'm trying to get at, there's no money.
No, what I'm saying, from a cost certification point of view,
But from
A
a small
developer.
person talking to another person, there's no money here. That guy, nothing
Right.
personal, you don't have any money to finish this project.
well, that's not necessarily true,
Okay,
but there may or may not be, but.
that's why it's took so long. He's been to all kinds of economies, things like this. I understand, nothing against you
I think
personally,
that's possibly
but there is no
somewhat
money
correct.
here.
But-
And for you to come to me and say, I want you to think about separating A and B, I can't do that. Me personally, I can't see that.
Because you may not care, but if B is not, if that's not approved at some point in time, they may not have everything done.
I know, And that's not what my intent is. My intent is to get this project finished and be done.
So there again, I think we have to get, in order to find out what the hell we're looking at, okay, what it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
Right?
So
And to bring it up to the standards that were approved by the board, by the plan that was approved.
So you're
So I
gonna,
don't know whether sidewalks, no sidewalks, I don't.
right, but that,
So we gotta
it's
check.
all written in what it's
Exactly.
supposed to be.
Yes.
The trees are not there, the lights aren't there, there's a ton of things that are not, and I was reading this whole thing.
Right.
That's another day in itself. But let's get to what I'm talking about is phase A right now. So phase A needs to be completed, so what the first part, you're gonna hire an engineer. You're gonna add money to the 53G account, so we can go
Well,
ahead.
we have to, before we can have the money in 53G account, we gotta get some kind of an estimate from Green.
Check, so that we hire an engineer, and then, so you're not gonna be at next meeting next month.
No.
For any of this, it's gonna take a little bit to get this rolling.
Potentially, I mean, they may be able to come in for a meeting to give you status on certain things. It depends on where you wanna go with the playground piece. It depends on where you wanna go with the engineering piece,
I want the playground piece addressed by next meeting.
but they may not be able to get everything done right away. And if you're clear with them and you understand some of this may take more time, it doesn't mean that they don't do anything with regard to an engineer between now and then.
Very well, yeah.
What is, bus turnaround, that's gotta be addressed, that'll be done in the engineering.
Well, my understanding is, and I'm probably wrong, my understanding is that there were a lot of people that may not want that bus station,
But it's in the comprehensive
but
permit.
then we'd have to come, then if that's the case, we'd have to come back for a modification.
Modification, because it's.
I know it's in the plans as required.
The same with, any other changes that you want to
I
make.
need just so we get all, that stuff you guys. can-
Well, I've already submitted a request of what we want.
No, for right now, but if there's something additional that you haven't asked for, that the engineer, through the engineering process and discussion with the homeowners, looks like they want to not do, and it's required by the comprehensive permit.
Just
That would require a further modification.
for the record, is it a bus turnaround and or a bus stop? A bus shelter? I just heard both terms you mentioned, I'm just
It's
wondering.
just a turnaround to the bus, because it was considered a one-way out there. So
Oh, I see,
yeah.
yeah, okay, okay.
I believe I think it's both. I think there's a turnaround and
And
there's
this
a
one
bus.
says proposed bus turnaround.
What does how the kids get picked up now?
Go to do it.
So the bus,
It was
So-
there.
She pulls up, the main entrance off of Center Street and then comes through, turns around at the end where like the one-way is, and then goes right back out.
so even though the roads are not been accepted, it's interesting.
Yes.
Okay, I just want some clarification, because I heard you had
That's why that was there.
They're talking about supposed to be a centralized bus stop for all of the kids, is that what
Yes.
the?
No,
Yeah.
not centralized, it's.
No, it's right at the end of Center Street,
Do you want to see it?
By the playground.
Do you want to come see?
before the playground. I mean, and the only issue with that is that you have a lot of little kids, okay, that everybody would have to walk the kids down to the bus stop. But if the,
So they go-
if
they go right
the
there.
principal of the school or the head of the education is over
That's not
there,
unheard of.
bus riding around,
But again, it's
you
19
may
years
feel
old.
that.
Given what they're doing now.
Well, there's a central bus stop.
Buses driving.
There it is.
There is a central bus stop. for
If I
the-
know it,
That's true, the middle
They
school.
don't stop at every house, there's a central bus stop, but
Within-
because everyone's down this end, it's down,
Within the subdivision.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
so I can't
So-
say there would be one
But
at
the
the
point, my
end.
point I was making is that the school department bus goes into the development and picks up the children that are.
The guy in the back here has a question.
I just had a question, didn't we agree to some amount of time that it's taking to get this project finished? Like, is there any type of time constraint imposed on someone, like if it doesn't get finished by X or Y, then this happens?
Well, we discussed earlier.
So there are comprehensive permits that exist that do have time constraints like that built in. This particular one does not. Typically, what would happen though is that if something's not, if that is ultimately approved and not appealed by the developer, usually the outcome is that if it doesn't happen, no more permits are issued. So generally, the board would have been talking about making sure that their infrastructure was sufficient, so you didn't have the problem of having
Does phase
half, you
A,
know what I mean?
is
Half the
phase
road
A
built
required to get completed?
before phase fees.
Well, no,
I'm not
what I'm
sure.
saying,
No,
I don't think so.
does phase A, like, you know, does it
You
eventually
can
have?
go right into B if you wanted to, yeah.
I think going to be right now.
The original permit?
Yeah, the original permit, yeah.
No, the permit is issued,
So we have that.
plans were approved, so he,
It was
if
10 houses, I
Richard,
think.
if Richard wanted to,
Yeah,
I think he can go, I mean, he'd have to put the infrastructure in and so forth, and have to get.
At least that's the reading I was reading.
Yeah,
that.
I don't get it.
It's an approved
How can
subdivision.
you start that without finishing that? Like, it's.
Well, let's just say he sold all the market rate houses and he's only has affordables left, he'd have to jump into this to continue selling his homes.
Well, you
That's
have
the
to,
reason.
that's not, so with the affordable units, you can't build only market rate and give you affordable, so
Right,
yeah, you have to build those
That's right,
proportionately.
I should have said it the other way
Yes.
around, affordables.
But oftentimes developers do start another phase while they're finishing up the prior phase in order to both maintain funding, maintain project completion. I mean,
Correct.
it's not atypical. In this particular case, and I'd have to go back, because there's a couple of modifications here, but it looks like it was further modified in 2009. But there was a phasing plan originally that required a 9-month lapse in between each phase before they could start the new construction, which clearly
They're
is
afraid we're gonna build
Clearly
it
it's
too
fast.
fast.
That's what they said.
And then, in 2009,
Decisions.
it was changed to be a two-phase development, and again, just a 9-month. Each phase would commence at the later demonstration to the ZBA that either all the homes in the prior phase were under construction, and at least 2/3 of them substantially completed, or 9 months had lapsed after the commencement of construction of the previous phase,
So
so,
beyond that.
well, the later of. So it's actually, once all the homes are under construction.
I guess we're just getting a little tired of our area looking like a construction zone.
In 2004, age-restricted 40Bs were the hottest thing on the planet. Back then, the towns didn't want,
That's,
open everyone
you
because.
got it after that though, right? You bought it as
Well, I was induced,
next
they
day's
were in
phase.
trouble with their bank, and I got involved with their bank, and I was induced to come in, but I insisted I wouldn't have been until we got the age restriction moved. Because at that time, there were 30,000 housing units in eastern Massachusetts, all for 55, and it was a bust. And tons of 40Bs were that deep, the age restriction, okay? They had this plan, the original developer, they're gonna build it through like lightning. And then, of course, we had a great recession, that affected too.
Okay.
So the condition that's about the phasing plan is actually the one that is being requested to be modified. It does require, that language does require that the infrastructure for the entire project has to be substantially completed before you can start the construction of phase B. So that's another piece to keep in mind, that is your current language, that is part of the modification request that's before you.
Can you say that again?
So take a look at condition 4.
Condition.
Of the original
Not
permit?
of the 2009 permit, not
2009.
the way that it is drafted by the developer in their modification request.
Yeah, I know, I saw
Because
that.
you left pieces of that out.
I've seen different pages, there were different numbers in it.
It's the 4th page of the 2009 decision, and it's condition number 4, under the decision section.
2009, you said?
And the last sentence before you get the breakout for phase A and B says the infrastructure for the entire project shall be substantially completed prior to the construction of the second phase. So that is something that I would suggest the board be speaking to the developer about, because we'll need to know what your plans are to complete that infrastructure before you start putting any houses on phase B.
Greg, do you have anything aside from the,
So that being said, in condition 4, that was done in 2009, obviously that's something that Spero up, you're gonna have to address before you go too
Absolutely, I
crazy.
do it all.
So,
And so is the buyer aware of that.
yeah, well, I wanna see phase A, like you said, get the engineering, let's get it in here, fatten up to 50G, count, get it so we can start doing our due diligence on our town end too, and then come back in front of us, because that's gonna be addressed.
I'm really condition number 4, is what you're referring to?
Condition number 4 in 2009 comprehensive permit on the decision.
That's on page 4 of the two
Yeah,
thousand.
page 4.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
Do you have any more specific things for at least I know there's a lot that's been discussed and a lot that still needs
Well,
to be
I
discussed.
can bring up.
But is there anything for the next meeting aside from the stuff that we talked about that you specifically want to see, so we can try to get a very clear list or
Curb, try to get with the Mass State, get the curb cut taken care
I'm
of.
sorry.
The Mass Highway for the curb.
Yeah, I
Skip
can,
with
I
that.
can go to Mass Highway, I
Okay,
can talk to my attorney about my liability.
yeah,
Okay, and how it's
for him for the playground.
for a hit, I mean, a child gets hurt, that's awful.
I know.
We have to go out there and work
And
on
you're
it.
gonna get a hold of the playground
Yeah,
commissioner and
we'll do that.
Okay.
Playground commissioner, curb cut,
Curb cut,
engineer,
engineer.
anything else, Greg?
Nope, that's good for me for now, let's start with that and then, see
I
what we
think that's
stand.
a reasonable place
It's
to
a
get
big
started.
area right there, and so,
It's,
and that
it's gonna-
condition,
it's gonna
page
get,
four
it's
is
going, I like it because it's going to address the safety concerns and the appearance and the accessibility of some of the amenities that were put in there to begin with, and I think it's the best worst answer to start with, in the sense that, like, we have to start somewhere. I think this is the only logical way to start, make this like livable and presentable.
Yeah.
I don't know how any of the other board members feel.
well, like I said, I got a video, I drove through there today and I was just like, whoa. It's not it needs addressing.
To any, is there any public input, aside from some of the, I mean, I certainly don't want to have a rehashing of some of the stuff that's already been discussed, but is there any new comments we haven't addressed that you guys wanna address, or any questions, or anything that, like I said, I don't wanna bombard too many itemized lists for the next meeting, because the more we put on there, the less it's gonna get done. But is there anything specific that you think that we need to consider for the relatively near future?
I think we hit it all. Most spots, get a start here.
Are the people that are currently buying homes knowing what they're getting into?
I think if you drive through there, I think you know.
Like the person that just bought the house, do they know about HOA and do they know about this?
That has to be on there.
Piggybacking off that, a couple of the recent people who sold homes in our area. Resales. Claim that, I guess, that they, during closing, they were notified that they had to go back and pay homeowners association fees.
Well, that was, what happened was that the monitoring agent, who was social, which is now Neighborhood Works.
Like I said, these people were at closing, and I've talked to a couple of them, and they got blindsided that at closing, they had to pay these, astronomical fees. But again, when you're in that process and you're going from one home into another,
Yeah.
$2,000, and that's why one of those homeowners associations, that's why it was very important for us to bring that up tonight, because we felt that, that definitely needs to be addressed, because given the constituents of what's going on, if any of us so chooses to sell our homes, we don't wanna be, whacked with a bill by Mr. Federoff at closing by his closing attorneys or whatever like that, because then they send out and stuff like that, so I'm just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Well, let me just add to that Richard had, to my knowledge, didn't have anything to do with that. It was a request from the monitoring agent, who they were involved in the sale, those happen to be affordable homes that were resold.
Not all of them.
Well, two of them, the ones that I'm aware of, there was two side by side that was sold.
Regardless of those, there were a couple that weren't sold, there was two examples that we are aware of
Right.
that were sold and.
Which house specifically you talking about?
Tyler, and then there was one at the very end, there was a new family that just moved in, they sold it, that they heated the market,
Tammy?
Yeah.
Tammy and the.
Yeah.
I provide the closing attorney with a copy of the documents, the minimum fee, and I send them the bill, and they look at the paperwork and they tell the client.
So if so choose any of us until
Well, an
this gets.
attorney doing a title search is gonna wanna be sure that there's no outstanding obligations of the HOA to the developer.
Margaret, at least legally, do you have any?
That is an option that may exist. I
Okay.
can't,
Who's-
I can't
who's the
talk about a
moderator?
specific situation.
No, but just from your
But
legal.
as I mentioned to Mr. Federoff, he may wanna talk to his
It's,
attorney about ways that he can enforce
Been changed several times.
Right,
It
I've
doesn't
seen
necessarily mean
different
that
ones.
the answer
Oh,
is to
sorry, it's
lock.
almost saying
I
one.
can't hear Marguerite talk about
It
it.
doesn't necessarily mean that the answer is to lock a playground, because there's different ways that exist to collect fees. This is certainly not
So
way that is
it may be a fine print thing, but it's something that is a,
a very, it may be a very
Potentially-
valid way to collect the homeowner's fees.
It's clearly on the record for everybody.
so at that point, it would be
I
up
don't
to,
know.
it'd be up to
Again,
the buyer, it'd be up to the,
can't speak to
it'd be
an
up to the
individual.
buyer's attorney, if they have one, to be aware of that at that point.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's what happened, it's Neighborhood Works is the monitoring agent that monitors the resale of affordable units. Market rate, they have nothing to do with it. So what happened, and it used to be called, South Shore Housing, it was called something, but
Right.
now it's now
It's not
called.
South Shore.
No, it's not.
They're in the same place in Kingston, it's Neighborhood Works. So what I had got a call from the monitoring agent saying, what did I know about the fees and so forth? And I, at that time, didn't know anything, so I talked to Richard. And that's when they wanted to be sure that as far as that one house is concerned, that there was no outstanding liability to the HOA.
But there hasn't been an HOA
That's what
approved yet.
No, the HOA exists.
Well, it exists when you buy it.
It exists.
And that's part of the quote unquote, homework, is to look back into that, because it's so old.
There's an HOA, there's a homeowners association that exists, there's a trust that, a homeowners
And you're
association trust that was
We
recorded.
just don't know
And
the
I would,
details.
I'm almost positive, if you look at your deeds, your deed references that homeowners association and that you're bound by all the obligations that exist within it.
Except that what,
That doesn't necessarily mean that the homeowners association responsibilities fall to the homeowners. I don't know
Right.
that.
That's one that we have
They
to go
may,
look at.
or it may still be the responsibility of the developer. I don't know who's responsible for paying the fees necessarily.
Based on, that's what I was saying, based on the contentious language in the documents that, I mean, that's why, if any of us so chooses to go sour, I mean, that's a horrible way to do business.
When I tried to get this up,
Again, I can't.
Yeah, right.
I could bring you a copy of every deed that's ever been recorded. And sometimes the lawyers catch it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they come uninformed, sometimes they don't. And it's just the way it's going. I had one attorney, I called her at the closing and said, we have an HOA. She said, show me. She wrote me the check because she didn't want any trouble with her client. But some swear they never find it. And one other issue you'll have too is that the Bristol North Registry of Deed doesn't always organize things as good as some other registries.
Never had problems finding someone. The registry-
I'm just telling you,
As far as I
I'm
know,
not,
the homeowners
I'm not saying
association.
the point thing.
I've talked to two lawyers, they were embarrassed when I pointed it out to them.
Alright, so we need to,
I'm just telling you.
is there
It's there.
anything else from the public regarding anything tonight specifically that, obviously, there's more to be discussed, for sure.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna, for sure, before next, 26th is next
Yep.
month. We're gonna,
Well,
not gonna be ready for the 26th.
I knew that.
so one thing that we were discussing during recess is that the old town hall, meaning the newly renovated building,
Good.
has the live streaming capabilities, and we have found out that that building is not being used on the fourth Tuesday of every month. So yes, early in the meeting, we discussed, at the time not knowing that we were going to move those cases to continue to our regular Wednesday meeting. However, if it worked for the applicant and it was on the board, I know it does, we were gonna look to continue that meeting, this specific case, to that Tuesday, the 25th, so we can do it in that building.
There's no way he's gonna be ready.
That's fine, but do you?
So I think we should go following one.
Okay, so you don't, I mean.
Now, if something happens, you can present it.
Well, that's one thing that Mark was discussing, that there'll be a lot of things that might be outstanding, but you said there may be some work that may or may not need to be, not need to, that you would like to present to the board, even though things are not done yet. Do you think, I mean, if not, that's fine, but do you see any need to meet on that day? We will only be meeting for this one case, so if you think no, nothing will be ready to
So
be
you have
discussed,
nothing
then
else,
Not for that Tuesday, no.
we would be meeting for that, for just this one case, for the sake of being able to.
I think there's much too much to
Okay.
figure out.
Okay.
I know.
And I wanna try to get a handle.
So the question for the board is, do you want a status update still? You want the developer to come in and give you a status update on what he's been doing? It doesn't mean it has to be done, but you wanna know what work has he taken on these particular 4 items. There may be additional information that comes into the board in the interim from the public or from other town boards that you could review at that time.
I don't know how else to say this, if we have to have our thumb on this the entire time, then yes, I want a status update. I don't wanna wait 2 months to hear more, I don't want 2 months to go by with 2 times the excuses. At this point, I don't care if nothing's done, I want them to say, for whatever reason, no, nothing's done, rather than hear nothing for 2 months.
All right, we'll be here, well, I won't be here, but Rich will be here Monday,
Or a letter,
just to say whatever you can say.
You
I'd like
need-
you to
it's a
be
public
here.
hearing, so the developer will need to be
Yeah.
here.
okay,
So what did
so we're gonna do that on the 25th then, right?
20, I thought it was the 20.
26th is the Wednesday, but this would be on the 25th, so we can use that.
So we'll have it live streaming, so this whole thing that
I won't
happened
be
today
here,
will
but
be cleared up.
Do you wanna do that for
Yeah.
the live streaming, just to do a sense update,
25th
or
of
do you wanna do that as a Wednesday?
April.
Regular.
If that is going to get the residents the best way to get the information, then yes. If there was no benefit for it at all, then I would say, well, why bother? But there clearly is, so if that's what we need to start doing, then that's what I want to do.
I also want to make it clear, and please share this with your neighbors, there is not going to be another set of notices of the meeting that goes out to individual homeowners. This is a public hearing and it's continued, so it's an ongoing event. You find out when the next meeting is, when the board votes at the meeting before. So you've either got to watch the video or you have to hear it if we're trying to live stream, which is one of the reasons that the board's looking to live stream. You won't get a separate notice.
If you want to
So
certainly
the
call
live
in,
stream actually
if you,
sounds like a great option for us, I think.
if you certainly want to call and ask Carrie, she's more than happy to give you any,
Right,
I mean, she won't be able to
It
go
will
into
be
detail for every single
posted.
item, but she can say, yes, we have a meeting, so.
it gets posted according to the open meeting law, but there isn't a separate, you received probably certified mailings of tonight's notice. And it looked a lot like, this document. You won't get that again, because it's a public hearing and because it's being continued through the public hearing process. So I just wanna be clear, because I saw a question come up in one of the abutters emails. And I wanna encourage you all to share that with your neighbors too.
And that's not on anyone's lack thereof of communication, that's just for a case that's continued, that's just not a procedure that's followed where we mail mailers for continuances.
Yeah, right, the law requires it only at the initial.
Mr. Chairman, are we officially announcing tonight the meeting will be on Tuesday, the 25th? Over
Yeah, I
here.
believe that will be the vote.
The new building, the old town hall.
Oh, town hall, okay.
Same time, right.
Yes, that's the date.
I very much just, I asked everyone on the board and they were more than fine with meeting twice that week. I said, well, if that's the only way to do it, that's how we're gonna do it, so.
At 7 p.m.
Correct. So if there's no more discussion to have on this particular case tonight, I would need a motion to continue this meeting to April 25th, Tuesday, 7 p.m. at the Old Town Hall, which is, for the record, next door.
Oh, okay.
It's called the Old Town Hall, it was the Town Hall. Near there.
Second floor.
No, it's not about next door. No, right?
Right.
When you say Old Town Hall,
That's where.
it's not the town hall down there, it's the town hall.
It's called Old Town Hall, because it was Town Hall.
Yeah.
There's only one floor.
I actually call it Grange Hall.
No, it is.
So I would need a motion to continue to that day.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion
Yeah.
Right, you're not worried,
that
sorry, right.
it should be done.
So it's gonna be.
Motion to continue this hearing to 4/25, 7 o'clock, Old Town Hall.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I-
Okay. So we have they have everything that they need, residents are aware when the next meeting is, everyone can make it.
I
Talk to
think the
Margaret,
other
she can
thing
make
you
it.
were asking for an ongoing to do, I don't know that it's necessary for next meeting, is
Okay.
something from the sewer department confirming the size of the well.
Yeah, that was on my thing, yeah.
So if you wanna work on getting that one.
But I have all the sewer calcs.
Yeah,
No,
because,
but there was an email, I think, from their
Okay, whatever
consultant
you
to
need
the
to
board
submit.
saying
right.
it's gotta be designed for so many gallons.
Carrie, for the record, before Nancy last, she asked for the stormwater to be consulted, and that would be for any new plans coming forward, but for discussion on this new project. Nancy said that stormwater would like to be involved the same way they were involved with Strawberry Fields. They would like to have, submit in writing their finding. What she told me that she wants to get for the record.
But this is not a new subdivision, so.
Mr. Chairman, could I get a copy of the town's, comments?
Yeah, we have,
So I don't wanna start looking through them and maybe I can pick through that.
They were all part, I know we had a lot of them filtered in after,
But
but.
I'll email them to you tomorrow.
Okay, I can stop by.
Well, I can email
Oh,
them.
you can email.
Yeah, I'll email them to you.
Yeah, just all the department conflict, so I have a sense of where we're coming from in all of them, and then I can better put it together.
So I'll email to you and Mr. Cussin and you'll both have them.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are now, we can't be discussing that case anymore for tonight. So the last thing, no, I mean, we have moved up, we continued that public hearing, so we're not gonna continue talking about the case. So the last thing we have is 5 for public input. Is there any unrelated to this case public input that has come in or before us? Do you have any questions, Julie, while you're here? Or just-
No.
Okay, okay.
Just trying to be respectful, you know, so it didn't.
You don't have to say that. It's like a dance recital when like your kid's done, it's like a. 6 is correspondence.
Thank
You got it. Number 6 is correspondence. We have any unrelated correspondence that came through?
No.
And do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 5th, 2023?
Motion to approve minutes.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? So before we adjourn, is there anybody on the board that has anything they'd like to discuss? Again, we're not gonna discuss this case specifically, as much as you may want to. Is there anything unrelated that the board has, any members to discuss, or anything that's come up?
No, just a while.
That's, we'll leave it at that.
I'll add in a while.
We'll leave it at that. Is there a motion? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pull the plug, that's a sad way to word that, I just.
I'm sorry, I missed who seconded that.
Both were seconded by, Elise, sorry. Nice, yeah. Carrie, sorry, I mean, just need to stop the recording.
Yes.
Sorry.
Let's wrap the thing back down.
We were kind of put here by default, this meeting space.